Good afternoon, Americans. This is your favorite alien here on the morning of, or almost afternoon of Sunday, March 10th, 2024. Oh, well, we all had to spring forward. We're in Daylight Savings Town 9. So we are on the new time schedule. I hope all you made breakfast. Today's commentary is on a unique thing that's happening this election season for you Americans. And here is my advice for you American voters. There is a group of people that are selecting a third party candidate. And my selection for the candidates will be as follows. And I have a special message for them. If I were the people that are going to fund and promote the third party candidates for president and vice president, I would select two people, and it's up to you to figure out which order you want to put them in. My order would be Nikki Haley, president, Jeff Duncan, vice president. Both Republicans and conservative. But I would tell them, take the third party candidate and make your campaign not as Republicans 3.0, not as conservative, but base your candidacy on American values. Because if you win the presidency, you're going to have to tackle these issues, and some of them are going to be like abortion and reproduction rights, like IVF, in vitro fertilization. You're going to have to deal with them, which are not conservative, which are not liberal, but you're going to have to deal with them as an American necessity. Morality, you can't deal with that. You're going to have to deal them as an American necessity. It's part of your new American Prime Directive, which you have to come up with. You're going to have to update both the Constitution and the preamble to the Constitution to adopt to the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and beyond centuries. The Constitution was made for 18th century people. And like President, and I keep harping at this and nobody's listening to me, Thomas Jefferson said it's a half a loaf because he knew you had to change it for succeeding generations and centuries. Nobody has ever done that. Therefore, I would advise you to set up a new constitution and change the preamble, not very much, but change it a little bit to adapt to centuries to come. So, as a candidates, President and Vice President, Nikki Haley and Jeff Duncan, I would say that you Republicans who hate Donald Trump and the extremist rightists, whether you're conservative or moderate Republicans, conservative or moderate Democrats, if there still exists such a thing, instead of the extremist leftists, and the independents and those never voters who have to vote for their descendants, because this is an election for descendants. You never had one of these before. And the two candidates on the ticket have to supply the platform that you're going to govern for American issues, not private sector, not public sector, not American government, not international. This is America. You have to fix your country first before you can fix the rest of the world. But the rest of the world understands that each of their nations have to fix themselves too. Canada needs fixing. Germany needs fixing. England, oh yeah, the United Kingdom, it definitely needs fixing. Spain, Italy, oh boy, they got a strange prime minister. Hungary, oh, they need fixing. They got an extremist person that's going to take them into Vladimir Putin's reign. And Russia, they need fixing bad. China, they need fixing. And democracy is not the answer. But the democratic values are the answer. And that's where you got to distinguish between democracy and democratic values. The United States is not a democracy. It's a federal republic. It never was a democracy. It's got democratic values to it, yes, but it's not a democracy. Any country in the world here is not a democracy. Look at the Israelis. They got a hodgepodge government that's dealing it, and it's not dealing in a democratic way. It's not dealing as a democracy, and it's not dealing with democratic values. They just want to humiliate and eliminate Hamas. See what I mean? And a term value like that, you can't deal with. Because whether they like it or not, they're responsible for the 2 million Gaza residents who are theirs. And this is part of the administration that comes into power that has to deal with it. You can't be like Trump, like, okay, we're going to close down Israel and we're going to do this and give it back to Hamas. Yeah, really. This is a mistake that the United Nations did in 1948, and it takes a 3-state solution for this. This is something that your administration under Haley Duncan or Duncan Haley has to realize. And you American voters, and especially Nikki Haley and Jeff Duncan, you have to create an American way of looking at things. You can't be conservative, you can't be liberal, and you can't be ultra-right or ultra-left. And like I told you, for some subjects like abortion and infertility, you have to deal with it. It's an American issue. Forget about the morality of the situation. It's something that your society needs. And keep on work on it. You just can't pass something and say, this is it, and 50 years later you haven't changed a thing. Otherwise it'll be like overturned like it was 50 years later for Roe versus Wade. It's up to you Americans. What are you going to do? This is your favorite alien telling you the best candidates that I can see out there are the former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, who went against Trump. He lost, and the Republican Party hates him. Same with Mr. Kemp. But Mr. Kemp, the governor of Georgia, is a little bit too extremist for my taste. Jeff Duncan is a little bit more to the center. And Nikki Haley, whether she wants to admit it or not, is a little bit more to the center as a conservative. I would call her more of a moderate conservative than conservative. But if you can be a moderate conservative and look at some of the things on the left conservative there in the center, that's where you should be. Your government won't be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. But you're not going to make as many mistakes as Donald J. Trump or Joseph Biden or Barack Obama or George W. Bush and Clinton. They made big mistakes that have cost this mess. Ronald Reagan made a mistake of trying to determine the conservative was the way to go. It was not. It was the same as back in Barry Goldwater's day, or FDR's New Deal. Caused a lot of problems. It's an American way, and you got to decide what that is and put it in your doctrine and make a prime directive. We won't interfere in the affairs of other countries or societies on other planets if we get to that point, because you have to determine when to interfere and when not to. At what point do you want to interfere in a society? If a society, say, like you or like Star Trek says, oh, well, we have star drive or warp drive, do you have to interfere in theirs because they're interfering in yours because they can get to you fast? If they're pre-warp drive, no. They have to develop themselves the best you can, and you have to deal with them in open space, unfortunately. But you can't go and try to have a first contact with a society that's not ready for it. And that's a problem with most of your nations here on Earth. You try to deal with them when they first came into being instead of giving them a cocoon and try to get them to being a good nation and then bring them into the world of nations. You haven't done that. You brought them right off the bat, and then you gave them all these technologies that they weren't ready for. Do you understand me, Americans? This is your fault, basically, or you're in the mess here. But as a third-party candidates, that's what I'm saying, as an alien from another planet, that would be your perfect ticket. Either way the people want to put it in, as Duncan for president and Haley for vice president, or Haley for president and Duncan for vice president. Because they both have the mentality that they can talk to each other and square their differences before they come in to talk to you people as a unified team. This is your favorite alien. Good day.